Hi, I'm Holly, and I'm going to show you how I made one of these mice for my dollhouse. The first thing that I want to say is that this is for adults and not for children because I'm going to be using some sharp objects. I also want to say that this is not really a tutorial, it's just how I made it. A lot of this was really experimental, and as you can see, each one turned out looking differently, which is great because they're supposed to be different mice. I also am not showing how I crocheted these cardigans or the backpacks simply because they were even more experimental. It was hard to get them right, and I really felt like I did them differently almost every time. But I am going to take you through how I make this older sister mouse. Hello and welcome to the part where I show you how I made one of the mice. I used floral wire for armature wire. It's really inexpensive and you can get it at any big box craft store. And then I am using some super glue to hold down the wool felt while I wrap the feet, the hands, and the tail, which are on all three separate wires. I use my daughter's Dollhouse doll for sizing. She has a smaller one for the daughter that I'm using for this mouse because this is one of the kid mice, and I use the bigger one for the bigger mouse. What's great with 1/12 scale, which is what my dollhouse is and what her dollhouse is that if someone is 6 foot tall in the real world, then it's a 6-inch doll, because for every foot in the real world, it's an inch in the dollhouse. So it does make life much easier. Now, I've never used super glue before in needle felting, but because Ramona and I will be playing with these mice, I just wanted to make sure that their limbs, the felt that was on them was going to be a bit sturdier. And so there's something else I also do to the hands and feet and tail at the end. So I'll kind of show you that once we get there. But right now I'm just adding the everything together, really. Adding the tail to the legs, bending the feet. I'm going to be adding the body, and I'm just using that doll to see how long I need to make the torso, and then I'll bend forward that little bit for the head and cut off the rest, and then add those arms on there. So this doll ended up being just a little bit bigger than the other kid doll, which is perfect because they could maybe be a little different, small difference in age. So now I'm just wrapping the felt around the armature wire, and this is where the body starts to really take shape. And while the other me is felting away, voiceover me will tell you a little bit about the dollhouse lore that I've made up for this project. So I've decided that the dollhouse was from the 18th century and it was passed down amongst the generations, but then it eventually ended up in the attic, and the mice came upon it maybe on a rainy day when they were looking for shelter in the house, and they find this dollhouse and they decided to make it their own. So there's already stuff from the original dollhouse, but then they do things to make it their own, like adding wallpaper and new paint and all their little odds and ends that they need for daily life. And in my mouse doll world, the mice all have a trade, some sort of workable skill that they can then literally trade to other mice. So the dad makes food and makes pies and all sorts of different foods, and then the mom crochets, and she in particular makes these backpacks where people can, or I guess mice, where these mice can go out into the world and pick up things along the way and hold them in their backpacks, and then take them back to whatever their home looks like. So that's kind of the story that I have here. So I have a mom and a dad, and I have 2 kids, and then I made my daughter her own mice, who I think will be coming in to the dollhouse too, I'm sure. So her mouse could be maybe the 3rd child mouse that is away at, I guess you would call it, trade school, learning what she would be best suited for as a trade to help out her little mouse community. So that's kind of the little world that I've built. And I just thought I would let you know. As you can see, I'm just adding a bunch of felt here, just smoothing it out, because where I've wrapped it, you can see those wrap lines. The mouse at first can look very mummy-like, but then as you just kind of add this loose felt, that makes it just, look so much nicer. And I've chosen a felt with a little bit more tooth to it for this sort of soft white, because I like that sort of rough texture, since, they are supposed to be animals. So now I'm just shaping it, and that's the thing about needle felting, is you can just spin forever just sort of putting it in the shape that you need it. But this has been a lot of fun. I did not spend any money on this. Every single thing that I used to make the mice, from the buttons to the yarn and everything, was something that I already had, and that was really important to me because I'm not wanting to spend a lot of money on this project. So as I said, in the making of the outside of the dollhouse, I spent $35, and I didn't spend any extra money on this. So we're still at $35, and I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm just working on the head, and but I don't want absolute uniformity in these mice, but you can see that I am using the other mouse to just sort of make sure that it's just not completely off scale wise, and to, make sure that it looks all right. So now I'm just felting in the eyes. A lot of people use the plastic eyes. I'm perfectly happy just to use the felt that I already have to make eyes. I don't really need the plastic, sort of rounded eyes that you stick in there. So that's what I use, just black felt. And then I use the light pink felt that I use for the hands and everything to make an upside down triangle for the nose. And then as you can see, I'm just sort of clipping everything to take some of that excess fuzz off. And for the ears, I used a 1-inch circle punch that I had, and some 140-pound paper from my drawer. And this 1-inch size is what I made for the adult mice. So for this, the 2 kid mice, I make it the 1-inch, and then I cut some off to make it smaller. Otherwise, I guess they would have to grow into their ears because they would be quite large. So that's me just cutting it. And then I'm going to start felting them in half. I just put them in half and then just felt just the very bottom. So now I'm just felting them on, felt on the inside first, and then around the outside. And then just doing the same there after I position it where it needs to be. And then it looks like I'm just doing some extra felting just to make sure everything is fairly symmetrical. I'm happy if it's not perfectly symmetrical, but I could tell in the back of the shoulders that one shoulder just looked like it needed much more because the other side was quite noticeably different. So there's my mouse. And now this is what I do to secure the feet, or the feet and the hands and the tail even more. I take a little bit of that paint that I used on the outside of the house, and it's just the warm bisque color, and I'm painting a little and then twisting until it's all sort of painted down, and it makes it more secure. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming along on this mouse journey.